Hi everyone, welcome to In the Studio with Kelly Hernig. Today is about the amazing color Potter's Pink. I cannot wait to compare these and see what differences there are. Are you ready? Let's go paint. Today we're going to do a comparison of Potter's Pink. I absolutely love the granulation of this color, but I find that some brands granulate better than others, and I want to see which one I should be using. We're going to be using Daniel Smith's Potter Pink, Schmincke Horadam Potter's Pink, Roman Schmalz Potter Pink, and Winsor Newton's Potter's Pink. We're also going to be mixing those with Daniel Smith Buff Titanium, Serpentine Genuine, and Indanthrone Blue. Now if you don't have Indanthrone, you could use French Ultramarine or something like this. These are just colors that are on my 24 color palette, and I want to really see what kind of mixes they make with those. That's why I've chosen these three. And I know Daniel Smith Potter's Pink in the half pan takes forever to loosen and become wet. So I'm going to just start by putting a giant drop in there of water. It takes forever, and I'm going to actually do Schmincke first while this is rejuvenating or whatever it does with the water. So I'm just going to keep checking it periodically. This one's Schmincke and this is Winsor Newton. And I'm going to do a solid block and then a little lighter block. I'm going to bring you a little closer so you can see this a little better, especially for these big blocks. I find with all these brands that it takes quite a bit of paint to get it on here. And I don't know if that's a property, you know, like kind of like a terra verde color. I need to use a thinner brush here. I'll switch after this one. I'm using a Handmade sketchbook with Fabriano cold press in it, 140 pound. The company that I got my sketchbook from is no longer in business. I'm going to touch some, just pick up some pure pigment here and see if I can get a corner really dark. I'm going to lighten this with some water. I want to see too if even these lighter values give me granulation. That's really what I'm checking here today. The granulation properties. I'm gonna let that dry for just a second. I can see how wet it still is. Splashing. So I'm just dipping my fingers in my glass here of water and splashing. If you're new to my channel, I splash everything because of the texture it makes. I just really love that. Okay, that was Schmincke. Let's look at the Daniel Smith one here. See if we've got any movement. All right, looks like I can make a puddle. That's good. You can see that, maybe you can't here. Let's tip that page a little. You can see it's going on a little lighter. It's not granulating already like the Schmincke did. And it almost looks like it has too much binder. That's kind of what it looks like to me. All right, I'm going to take some just deep color right in the corner here. See if I can get some dark. Okay, I'm going to rinse out my brush here and make a little lighter value. Splashing. Now I have Roman Schmal. Roman Schmal, I have the full pan. If you haven't worked with Roman Schmals, I've done a couple art hauls using Roman Schmals. I believe I have 2 videos on them, but I like to buy them in the full pans. That way I have more of it. I really like their consistency. You can see I didn't have to wet this one like I did the Daniel Smith at all. Which to me is a big point, a selling point. I would hardly ever use that in a project because it took so long to wet. That's a deterrent for me. I like to just dab and go. If you've watched any of my painting videos, you see I just stick it in there usually a lot of times, mix a little, and then I'm on to painting. They are 3 different colors so far. This is kind of interesting. I can't wait to see what the Winsor Newton one is. And we'll take a look at all 4 of them before we start color mixing. But this one definitely is the pinkest of them all so far. And I like the granulation so far. Putting some water on my brush. There, maybe you can see a little better. Sorry about that. Okay, let's splash. And the last one is Winsor Newton. Now, if you watch my last Davies Gray, you know I was not happy with Winsor Newton. I'm hoping this one is a little better, but we'll see. My issue with Winsor Newton is I used it all the time in college, but now it just seems like I use so much paint, so much more paint than any other tube paint. And it could just be a me thing. I don't really know. It's going on much better than the Davies Gray did, I can tell you that. I don't feel like I used half a tube just to get that little bit. Okay, adding water to my brush here. The splash. Okay, let me push this aside so you can look at all 4 colors there. I find this so interesting. So this color here looks more like I want to say like a cherry cinnamon kind of color. It's definitely more on the brown side. Out of all of them, I think that leans to the more brown. I think that was Daniel Smith. Schmincke's lends itself more to a violet. It seems more of a purpler color, and these 2 are very similar. This I still think is the brightest pink. This is Roman Schmal, and then this is Winsor Newton, and I think this is light pink and maybe this is a dark pink, but they're similar in tones. Here it looks a little darker, but that is definitely the brightest and that is definitely the dullest. Now, in most days, I would like the duller color, but because Daniel Smith was so hard to re-wet, it's an absolute no for me, which is probably why I only have a half pan of it. I don't even know where I got the half pan. I must have got it in some kind of paint swap. But I'm liking the other ones so far, and I can't wait to see what we're mixing with. So I'm going to start with buff titanium, and I'm going to start with the Daniel Smith. So I might as well re-wet this Daniel Smith while I get my buff titanium going. Okay. And for the swatching part of it, I'm going to use a flat brush here. This is a number 10 shader snap brush by Princeton. It's just called a flat shader. I like it because it's a great size for this. I'm able to get probably 2 or 3 color swatches per color, which works out great for me in this little bitty space. I'm going to do buff titanium all the way across. And again, all my mixed colors are Daniel Smith. And buff titanium is one I use on absolutely every painting that I've ever done, I think. And so it is my number one mixer to test for myself on what it looks like. So you know your go-to color, whatever color that is should always be the first one that you use. And you mix everything with to see what it looks like. So if you're wondering how I come up with colors, that is definitely how I came up with buff titanium. Gonna splash. Okay, I'm gonna slowly add, I'm gonna move this so you can see a little bit more here. I'm sorry, I can't get my mixing tray in here for you to see. Maybe I can on this side, let's see. Okay, you might be able to see it now. I've got it upside down, but there it is. So what I'm gonna do is put out a little pile of the buff titanium, and I'm gonna slowly mix the Potter's Pink with it for the next 2 lines. So I'm just gonna dip into some color here. And I'm looking for a change of color. That's it. It can be the tiniest change. Like that's good. I just want it to turn a little pink actually. Let's add a little bit more. I'm going to splash. Now I'm going to go on to Serpentine Genuine. Now I picked Serpentine Genuine because this is a yellow green, and it is one that I've had on my palette for a very long time. It's nice and bright, and I rarely use it how it is, but I love the way that it mixes with my palette. Going to touch some Potter's Pink. Now red and green are complementary colors, which means they should gray each other. Trying to get a noticeable change. That's pretty good. Definitely give me olive vibe there. I like that, an olive vibe. That's a pretty color. Gonna add just a little bit more serpentine to that and a little more Potter's Pink. That's better. That's a color I would use. Now this is what I want to tell you, that this is a discovery lesson for me, which is why I do all these color mixes and trying to figure out what I would use them for. It's also a way to extend my palette. So if I was just to add one color, say I add Potter's Pink, I have 24 colors already on my palette. So it will give it something to mix with. The next one here is in Dan Throne. A really bright blue. Need a little bit more water. Look at the intensity. You think this color, this Daniel Smith color, is going to do anything with it? All right, let's pull a little bit out. There we go. We've got some color shift. Not much, but a little. Took away the brightness. Now we are on to Schminky. At the end, I will show you all of the colors so that we can look at them really nicely, close up with all the texture, because I do want to see if the Potter's Pink comes through, because it is a very textural color. Okay, I've got buff titanium here. Let's mix it with this Potter's Pink. It's so much easier to mix. Did you see that on the first try here? Got it. Gonna add a little bit more. That color's lovely. Wow, pretty color. Serpentine green now. Let's add some of that pink. Add a little bit more. That's a very interesting color there. This is something too, if I like a color like this, I will come back and do like 10 values. I will add a little bit more until it totally changes to Potter's Pink. It's a way to explore it even further with values. For right now, I'm just seeing if it's even something that I like. That's the whole point of the 3 little quick lines for myself. Okay, we've got Indanthrone. This crazy color. It is one of my favorite blues, though. I don't know why. It's so intense. I'm going to pick up some Schminky, some Potter's Pink here. Need more water. And even more. Are you noticing big differences between the 2 colors? With one being more brown and one being more violet? You can see just a little bit of differences there. The next color is Roman Schmal. Roman Schmal, for being a pan color so hardened, it really goes on so smoothly. I'm really loving that about the Roman Schmal. Now we need Serpentine. Gorgeous greens there. Okay, we are on to Indanthrone. Need a little bit more water. Okay. Such a strong color. I don't know what I was thinking taking this color. And our final color is Winsor Newton. Antique white. Touch of Winsor Newton. Impressive, did you see that? All of these buff titaniums are making beautiful skin tones if you do portraits. I don't know about the granulating, if you'll want that on a face or not. Serpentine green, or serpentine genuine, sorry about that. I always forget to add the genuines, the word genuine. Touch more water. Beautiful color there. If it makes it more neutralized, I'm usually a huge fan. So now we are on to Indanthrone. I'm just going to put a little out because you can see it doesn't take a lot. Okay, let's take some Winsor Newton. Let's pull this off to the side here. Maybe we'll have better luck. Need a little bit more water. I'm going to dry these and then I will be back. I want you to look at the beautiful granulation of this color. I'm surprised there's not more down in here, but again, if I was mixing more, I might see it more the heavier that I got into the Potter's Pink. You can see little hints of it throughout here, so when I bring them up close, please look and see if you can see that little bit of granulation. It's in there. The only color that I really don't see it in is this Indanthrone, but again, the Indanthrone is so heavy that it might take half and half before we actually see any granulation. So this was the Daniel Smith, this was Schminke, this was Roman Schmal, and this was Winsor Newton. I would love to know your favorite and what color you liked mixed with it. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Here we go. I'll try to do 2 colors at a time. So this is Daniel Smith and then Schminke. Do you see the color differences there? Let's see if I can get all 3 of these in. There we go. Now are you seeing the little granulations in this? And I can really see it. Look at that here. It's really separating. I love that. And then this is the Roman Schmal and Winsor Newton. Here's the color mixes. Again, look in the green area. See how the Potter's Pink is almost separating from that? And I also like it in the buff. I like the different buff pinks that that's created. So as we look at those, so I really love this tone. So that was, remember, we just added a touch and then a little bit more, but that is really a lovely color. It would be great for, I'm thinking of the big magnolia that we have here and the star magnolias. That would be a really, really pretty shadow color. I'm also really intrigued by these greens, this third line of greens here, because I'm liking how the Potter's Pink seems to be separating itself from the green. It's almost like, especially here with the Daniel Smith and the Roman Schmal here, it's like in the water spots, I see more Potter's Pink than I do the green. And then in these Indanthrone color mixes, I wanted to see what kind of violets that kind of made. That was why I picked that color to mix with it. The only violet I have on my 24 colors is the Artemis. So I wanted something a little different, and these are definitely different. I think my favorite has to be the Winsor Newton one out of them. And I think this one of the Daniel Smith is my least favorite. It almost looks really dark to me, like almost a blackish color. And I think it's because, remember, this one has a little bit more brown. So I'm seeing more brown in the blue here, which is odd because I would normally like that. But for some reason, I'm not liking the blue and the Potter's Pink mixed in that area. I like it here with the Schminke. I like it here with the Roman Schmal, but this one is probably my favorite. And again, it seems more red violet here, and it could have been that I mixed more colors. But I'm going to bring this up one more time because I want you to notice the pink here, the pink, and how that's separating with the blues as well. So I find that really, really intriguing for my brain. So here is the Daniel Smith and the Serpentine, but see how it's separating in the water really pink? You're seeing that again in this Schminke here in the green and the blue. And then in the next two colors, I see it, this is the Roman Schmal one. I see it in the green and the blue. And then on the last one, the Winsor Newton, I only see that in the blue. I guess I see a little bit in the green. This is really a lovely color to compare because overall tones up here, they are totally different. Again, more brown, more violet, still the lightest, but this is like a darker tone of that one. It's a little going into a little more violet, but these two are definitely the more pink, and that's Roman Schmal and Winsor Newton. As far as the mixes down here, I think I would take any of them but Daniel Smith just because of the hardness to wet it and get it going. And maybe if you have Daniel Smith in the tube, please let me know if you don't have that problem coming straight from the tube, because then I might just buy a tube of it just to try. But I know out of the half pan, it was really awful. Not as easy as the Roman Schmal for sure. And I struggled with that a little bit. If you enjoyed today's comparison of Potter's Pink, please like, comment, or subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.